Welcome back to Stab the Dragon Productions and the Canadian Whiskey Tournament, Level 2, Episode number 9, as we continue our fourth family feud with the Canadian Club Whiskeys, coming to you from Fort Worth, Texas, on Wednesday, February 4th, 2026, where it is sunshiny and 56 degrees. A year ago, I conducted the first Canadian blended whiskey tournament by looking at Crown Royal, Fine Deluxe, Canadian Mist, Black Velvet, Canadian Club 1858, and Seagram's VO. The Canadian Club won that competition. This year we're moving up a notch or two. So far we have looked at the Seagram's VO Gold and Black, with the Gold winning. And in the Canadian Club family right now, we've looked at 1858 versus the 100% Rye. The Rye won. But last time we pitted the Rye against the Canadian Club 9-year-old, and the 9-year-old squeaked out a win. Today, I'll be reviewing this bottle, the Canadian Club 12-year-old Classic. Just the facts. This is a blended Canadian whiskey, coming in at 80 proof, 12 years old, for about $20 for the bottle. $20 to $21, $22. Tasting notes. There's a dark sweetness here, like toffee, hints of raisins, figs, maple syrup, wood, coffee, leather, and tobacco. Gave this a score of 87 and a drinkability grade of A. Very good taste for me. Versatile, worked great in an old-fashioned. Price is right, so this is a very good value. This is a keeper. I highly recommend it. Details. Well, in my other videos on Canadian Club, I give a fairly thorough history, Hiram Walker, and the history of Canadian Club. So right now, all I want to say is that the history of this 12-year-old, I think it may have been released in 1984, according to one source, but then I saw a picture online of a 1977 bottle that said 12 years old. But I noticed that in that bottle, which was still full, the whiskey was considerably lighter than this. And this is very dark for a 12-year-old. I mean, come on. This is looking like an American whiskey made in Texas. Okay, so there's probably a lot of food coloring in here, because no 12-year-old Scotch looks like this. So, I don't know. So I don't have a really firm date about when this was released. And that brings up a point of criticism. This book is one of my sources, and this book comes highly recommended. I mean, the guy here, the author, David de Kergomano, or whatever his name is, kind of a French-Canadian name, I think. I mean, this is an authoritative book on Canadian whiskeys. And the problem with the book is he goes into great detail about the biography of the people who started these whiskey companies, about the business history, who sold when to who and who owns it now, things like that, who built what distillery, and then they traded distilleries. All that's great, and that's part of the story, and I find it fascinating, right? But what he doesn't do is he doesn't trace individual bottles. He doesn't say, hey, in this year, this edition was released. You know, he does that some, once in a while, but not very often. And the Canadian Club, I'm just having trouble tracking down when some of these whiskeys, these labels came out, right? So, like this one is labeled Classic on this bottle. But if you go to the Total Wine website, they use the phrase small batch. And then a couple of my sources, other reviewers that I've checked, they use the term small batch instead of classic. So, I don't know, even its name has changed a little bit. Now, this has won several awards, including double gold at the 2024 SIP Awards, and I can see that. So for history, 4 out of 5. Bottle label and marketing. This is much like the other bottles that we have looked at. There's no real difference. You know, labels look a little bit different. Like this one has got blue tints, and this one is just black and gray. So The labels, have the specific thing about the bottles, but otherwise, the labels and the bottles are about the same. So, very plain bottle. I think the labels have a little touch of a class there. I mean, that's really, I like the label. It's pretty nice. So 4 out of 5 for bottle and label. But marketing, though, let's talk about marketing. I can't find a whole lot of marketing about this either. I mean, the rye seemed to have, that 100% rye seemed to have the most internet hits on it, most little commercials and stuff. So there's just not a whole lot out there as far as marketing for this label. So 4 out of 5 for bottle, label, and marketing. Appearance in the glass, that's pretty dark. I'm going to say it's a light 4. Heavy 3, light 4. I'm going to give it a 4. And when you look at the bottle itself, I mean, that's so dark that there's got to be a lot of caramel coloring going on there, because that's legal in Canada. So appearance, a light 4. Composition, again, I could not find anything authoritative here, but other reviewers seem to say that it's composed of corn, rye, malted rye, and malted barley, but no percentages given. It is aged for 12 years, as stated on the bottle. And again, I think it's got to have caramel coloring added. One source also said that it was aged at least partially in recharred barrels, and that can account for some of the darkness, some of it, right? So for composition, 13 out of 15 for composition. All right, let's nose this whiskey. A very pleasant nose. At least I'm getting something. Toffee, leather, wood, hints of maple, maybe hints of vanilla. Yeah, okay, the vanilla. I don't always get vanilla. My nose is inadequate for the task. So that is actually very pleasant nose. So that's an 8 out of 10. Could be stronger. It's strong enough for me to smell, and the smell is very good, but I wish it was a little bit stronger. All right, let's do a taste test. And that is a dark sweetness, toffee, hints of raisins and figs for fruit, wood, coffee, leather, tobacco, maple. All of those go in there. Some of the sweetness is a corn sweetness. But this really hits right down the middle of my favorite taste profile. So if I have some of my dark Texas rye whiskeys that give me the leather notes, the wood, tobacco notes, I mean, those are favorites. And that's what I'm getting here. So 22 out of 25 for taste. Mouthfeel, burn, and finish. Well, again, this has got a very nice mouthfeel. I mean, as we've gone up through the Canadian Club family, the 1858 was very thin. The rye was pretty good. The 9 was pretty good. The 12 is better. And so it's got a better mouthfeel. It's not thin at all. It does have a mild burn in the back of the throat, and that speaks well for its 80 proof. So good mouthfeel. Just the slightest of burns. Really, at 80 proof, I mean, this is a very user-friendly drink. the finish is still a bit short. It's got wonderful flavors up front, mid palate, and even the back, but then the finish just kind of disappears a little bit. You're left with a little bit of the toffee, a little bit of the wood lingering for just a little bit. So really the finish is its weakest point. So 12 out of 15 for mouthfeel, burn, and finish. Now, versatility. This is a favorite neat for sure. I think the flavors are strong enough to hold up under ice if you choose to drink this on the rocks. Cocktails. Recently, I was with my cousin down in South Texas, and he got a cocktail wood burning set. I don't know what you call those things, but it will smoke your cocktail, right? You have a little filter that you put on top and some wood chips, and then you get a torch and you blaze it up, put a lid on that, and it smokes your cocktail. He had that, so we were playing with that, and we used this whiskey for that one time, and it was simply amazing. So this is a very good cocktail whiskey. Old fashioned. I've made it old fashioned with this. I mean, that's why we did that night with the smoke. And this is just very good. So let me stop and make another old fashioned with this, and I'll be right back. And we're back with an old fashioned. But I did each of my old fashions differently. This one has still got a little bit of maple syrup as the sweetener, 2 Luxardo dark cherries, some orange peel, some orange bitters, but this time I also added some chocolate bitters. And the chocolate bitters tamp down on the sweetness a little bit, increase the dark flavors. I mean, I can taste the chocolate, particularly on the finish. So that really does, because I thought chocolate, a lot of people get chocolate on some of these darker whiskeys. I get a wood, leather, tobacco, and maple. So I don't really pick up on the chocolate that much, but sometimes coffee I do. But I thought chocolate would go well with this, and it sure enough does. It does tamp down on the sweetness some. And I don't normally like a lot of super sweet flavor on my old fashions, but that one could have used just a hint more of the maple syrup. So bottom line is, this Canadian Club 12 is very versatile. Neat iced or cocktail, definitely. So 5 out of 5 points. Price, value, and availability. Goody Goody has this bottle, $7.50 for $19.99. Or they got a 1.75 for $32.99. Specs has this bottle at $20.62 and a $7.50 for $34.71. And or a 1.75 for $34.71. And Total Wine's got this bottle for $19.59 and $32.99 for the 1.75. So really, you can get this bottle for about $20, plus tax. For a 12-year-old of this quality, I think, this good of flavor, mouthfeel, I think that's a great price. So very good value for this if you like the profile, the flavor profile. And I do. So this is a 10 out of 10 for me. This is a keeper for sure. Bonus points. I think this is just going to be standard issue at my house. This is the first bottle of the 12 that I've had. And it's just going to be a favorite. So, 5 bonus points, 5 out of 5. Giving me a total score of an 87. Letter grade for drinkability, a solid A. And my analysis recommendation, again, it hits my flavor profile dead center. And combine that with the price, value, and availability, it's definitely a clear favorite, and I highly recommend it. I mean, 20 bucks for this whiskey, definitely. Yeah. But it depends on your flavor profile, what you like. This is no burn, maximum flavor, good mouthfeel whiskey, versatile, and so I think it's good for those who are sensitive to the burn of whiskey. Highly recommend it. All right, what's up next? Well, I think now that we've reviewed the 12, it's time to do the 9 versus 12 competition. 9 versus 12. That'll be coming up next, maybe. I mean, I'm working on a couple of other things for my other channels, but we'll see. For now, this is Stab the Dragon, out here.